What is up, guys? Welcome to part 3 of my Rise of Shadows Hearthstone set review. We're going to start off with the rogue cards, and we're going to start with the big splashy legendary Tack Nas Whisker at 7 mana. This is a 6/6 with the ability, whenever you shuffle a card into your deck, add a copy to your hand. So some cool late game things going on here. Basically 2 10 mana plays, and this was engineered at 7 mana to sort of support both these things. Number one, you have the old turn 10 7 mana 6/6 into Prep plus Academic Espionage, which will put 10 1-mana cards into your deck. Also, 1-mana cards into your hand, in which case you're going to try to play the 2 best ones to, make up for the fact that you played a 10-mana 6/6. Whether it's, 1-mana Twisting Nether into some giant demon, or maybe you just get lucky and you get the Priest Gallery or Mass Resurrection. Who knows? But you're going to try to affect the board as best you can with 2 cards that both cost 1 mana. And you're going to have good draws, because every time you draw, you're likely to get, 1-mana card. So the other way to do this at 10 mana is with just Pogo Hopper. You play Pogo Hopper into the new Togwaggle scheme, and then you fill your hand and deck with Pogo Hoppers. And hopefully the next turn, well, you're going to fill the board with huge Pogo Hoppers. Now this play, you are playing a 10 mana 6/6, right? Whereas at least with the Academic Espionage, you are sort of getting the tempo back immediately. So I feel like the Espionage route is going to be the more common way. Maybe you play both and you see which one you get by turn 10. Turn 10 and 3 cards in hand is asking a lot in Hearthstone, but we are going into a new standard environment, so it's unclear how likely that will be to achieve, how easy that will be to achieve. But I will say that some of these new rogue cards that are being revealed are very powerful, and they're going to do a lot to get you to that turn 10. Let's take a look at 2 of them. They're both synergy cards when you're holding cards from another class. First up, Venthetta here, 4 mana, deal 4 damage to a minion, cost 0 if you're holding a card from another class. We need a shorthand, or if you're holding a card from another class, because it is quite worded. Maybe we'll just say if you're holding, this is 0 mana. Very strong card. It's not a backstab in the sense you can't use this on turns 1 and probably turn 2. Actually, maybe you definitely can in wild, right? You have Swashbuckler and Undercity Informant. Very strong wild card, because it can act like an actual backstab on turns 1 or 2, or turn 3, I guess. Yeah, Blink Fox is where you're probably going to see this. So you could coin out Blink Fox and then Venthetta. Not that you would need to do 4 damage on turn 2, but maybe you do. I don't know. So very strong card here. Any card that does cost 0 is busted in some sense or another. Going from 1 mana to 0 mana is a big deal. Wing Blast, if it costs 0, it would be a staple. Wing Blast might see play in the new standard environment, but if it costs 0, it definitely would have seen play before that. There are reasons, many reasons in fact, to have 0 mana spells in Rogue. You can think of the cards like Auctioneer. We're also going to see like a neutral sort of Antonidas type card coming up here in at the end of the reveal thing here. So big reasons to be holding in Rogue, and this card's kind of nuts. Anytime your opponent or you have 2 of these in the same early turns, it's going to feel like cheating. I find that anytime these 0 mana cards sort of pop up in the same game, in the same turn, feels like it's busted Hearthstone. You can look back to Thing from Below. Anytime your opponent played 2 0 mana Thing from Belows in the same turn, it felt like they were cheating. And both versions of Corridor Creeper can feel like they're cheating if you get both, right? When you got 2 5/5s for 0, it was busted. Even when the Baku decks get 2 of the 2 5s for 0 in the same game, the same turn, felt like cheating. So anytime your opponent or you get 2 Vendettas, it's not very healthy. Moving on to another crazy card. If you're holding the Underbelly Fence, 2 mana 2/3 Battlecry. If you're holding a card from their class, gain +1/+1 in Rush. So perfectly fine 2-drop 2/3. It's not sacrificing any stats. But the moment you're holding, it's a 3/4 Rush, so it's a 2 mana 2-for-1 basically. Probably better than Eviscerate at that point, although it can't go face. Yeah, pretty nuts. It's going to be hard to imagine building a rogue deck without playing cards that take cards from another class, because these 2 cards, Venthetta and Underbelly Fence, are just too good to ignore. Very pushed. I don't love the design there, because it's just going to make it so rogue cards start, at 20 cards instead of 30. You're basically going to have to play 2 Vendettas, 2 Underbelly Fences, and then 2 Hench Clan Burglars, looks like, and maybe even 2 Blink Foxes, because the power of these 2 cards are just so much. Like, imagine, like we talked about Hench Clan Thug in the first review, how it was just probably good enough to see play. as a 4/3 discover spell. That's very strong. Now the fact that you can go turn 4 or coin out Hench Clan Burglar into Venthetta or double Venthetta, I mean, that's just nuts. Your sort of bad tempo 4-drop turned into an insane tempo 4-drop all of a sudden. Imagine you go turn 4 Hench Clan Burglar, and then the next turn you play 2 Underbelly Fences. Your opponent's not gonna have a board, right? Like they just lose everything. So pretty nuts. Prep Sprint might be getting better here because we have these sort of undercosted cards. Both the Underbelly Fence and Venthetta are very cheap. All right, we're going to move on to Shaman cards. We're going to first look at Muck Morpher, which keeps getting better the more cards we sort of see, right? This 5-mana 4/4 says Battlecry, transform into a 4/4 copy of a different minion in your deck. What's starting to make this guy look pretty good is some of the big end-of-turn things going on. We're also going to look at a nice target here in Shaman that if you hit on turn 5, could definitely bring you back into the game. So yeah, the more we see, the more power this guy seems to get. I think the existence of many rush minions specifically is what makes this guy pretty good. So your 5-mana 4/4 affects the board in some way. Whether you're getting a card like Zeliax, getting an elemental that we're going to look at a little bit that also has rush and even Wind Fury. So, and there are some, you know, cool deck design things you can do with this. There are some big end of turn cards. We are losing the Lich King, but we're getting some you know, subpar end of turn powerful things coming up. So pretty cool card here. Another way to get Malygos, we should definitely mention that in Shaman. Shaman, one of the classic sort of Malygos classes, because they have access to Lightning Bolt and Lava Burst in the basic set. They're always trying to cheat him out in some way. And this is another way to cheat out possibly a Malygos, right? Sludge Slurper is the Shaman Lackey card. It's a 1-mana 2/1 Murloc. I love the fact that they threw the Murloc tag on there. Lots to talk about with this guy because it's such a good card, especially because you can just play this on turn 1, and you might even, you know, be able to play your Lackey the next turn. You will be able to play your Lackey the next turn. You might not want to. The one you want to get is the Faceless Lackey on turn 2. Well, you get a 1/1 and then a random 2. You only had 1 mana anyway, so that's a pretty damn good deal. The other ones, the Discover the Spell, you go ahead and throw that one down, the Ethereal Lackey. The other ones you might want to save for later. Now, obviously, if you have a good target for your Kobold Lackey to do 2 damage on turn 2, then go ahead and fire it off. But in general, I think the Goblin Lackey, Kobold Lackey, Witchy Lackey gain more value the later the game goes on, especially because they're so cheap. This card, much like a Kobold Librarian in the sense that I think it goes into every single Shaman deck. It's pretty much a 2/1 for 1 that draws a card. Walking Fountain, 8-mana 4/8 elemental, Lifesteal, Rush, and Wind Fury. Wow, and all in a common. That's a lot of things for just a common. This is the card I was hinting at when I was talking about Muck Morpher. If you get a 5-mana 4/4 Lifesteal, Rush, Wind Fury, that might be really, really strong. In fact, you'd gain up to 8 life and maybe remove 2 things on the board. So Muck Morpher gets better with this card. This card's really strong, right? It's just going to probably gain you 8 life the turn you play it. It's probably going to kill 2 things the turn you play it. If it survives all that, well, that's just a bonus, and you would gain up to 12 health or more. If this thing survives the turn, you buff it. I mean, it just goes off, right? Like, it is both a removal card, a life gain card. It's just randomly an elemental as well. We are losing a lot of the elemental synergy stuff from Unguru, so no more Kalamos stuff. But this card's really strong. And I imagine it's going to see a lot of play because it's a heal card and a removal card all in one. All right, moving on to Warlock cards. We're first going to look at a spell here that might be synergizing with most of the cards in the set. It's called Plot Twist. 2-mana Warlock spell. Shuffle your hand into your deck, and you draw that many cards. So it's a way to sort of mulligan your hand at -1 card, right? Because you had to play the Plot Twist. Now, this does, again, it's going to combo with some of the stuff we're going to see in the deck. The cool thing with this is you get to play Solarium, and you don't have to lose, you know, an important combo piece maybe to your deck, right? If you have enough mana, you can Solarium, try to play out the cards that you get for cheap. If you get something big like Archvillain or Prom, you don't want to discard and lose forever, you Plot Twist him back into your deck and then draw that many cards. So I do like the way this interacts with Solarium, and it's also going to interact with some of the cards we're going to look at. Very cool design here. I do think it's sneaky powerful because it is a waste of time, right? You're spending 2 mana to technically, you know, lose a card, but I think it's sneaky good because it does set up some things, and it's a very cool design here. Bellord Betrug, 8-mana 5/7 legendary demon. Whenever you draw a minion, summon a copy with Rush that dies at the end of turn. So Very expensive card here, notably a demon. Maybe we have some Sense Demon. There are some Sense Demon synergies coming up. The irony with this card is it's going to see a lot of play in Warlock, whether they like it or not, whether they put it in their deck or not, because I think Archvillain Rafam will see a lot of play, and you're just randomly going to get this, even though you get all the legendaries, you're just randomly going to get Bellord Betrug in your Archvillain Rafam game. So, and this does synergize well with Archvillain Rafam, because if your deck is full of huge legendaries, anytime you draw them, you get, huge, Nosdarmus for free, rushing in and dying, right? So, pretty cool card here. And it does synergize, I think, pretty well with Archvillain Rafam, because in general, legendaries are big and dumb, and giving them rush and then having them die seems like a good deal. This does synergize also with just Warlock Hero Power. On 10 mana, you can play this Hero Power, hope to get something big to affect the board. And it does synergize with Plot Twist. You play this with Bellord Betrug. On turn 10 with Plot Twist, you will have a whole bunch of things die, but you're probably going to clear out the board, right? Aranasai Brood Mother is a 6-mana 4/6 demon with taunt, and whenever you draw this, restore 4 health to your hero. So again, we see another sort of synergy with Plot Twist. If you put 2 of these back in your deck, you draw them for later to get some life gain for the future. The stats on this aren't amazing, but because it has taunt, it's never completely terrible. I think a lot of times people notice that Rin was just fine on turn 6 as a 3/6 taunt. This one's even bigger, also has the demon tag. This synergizes technically with Sense Demons, or a heal card. If you only had 2 Brood Mothers in your deck and you played Sense Demons, you drew them both, well, you gained 8 for 3 mana. That is a good deal. And, well, seems like that might be a thing. So, pretty cool design here. I do like this card. Evil Genius is the Warlock Lackey card. It is another 2-mana 2/2 with the battle cry. Destroy a friendly minion to add 2 random lackeys to your hand. So you double the value here. You just need to find something to kill. There are things to kill on curve. The Mekaru turn 1, turn 2 Evil Genius is a really good start. And then there's Void Walker, right? Void Walker usually survives the first turn, and then you can throw it away. Maybe get a kill on your opponent's Mekaru first when you sacrifice it, right? So yeah, I could definitely see this seeing play on turn 2. You probably have to put in your deck like you're not going to be able to play it on turn 2. And that might still be good enough because the lackeys are very powerful, and getting 2 of them for 1 card will be very strong, right? If you get the Discover a spell that has any number of branching outpass, like you could be a zoo deck with Twisting Nether all of a sudden, right? You could be a zoo deck with Hellfire Zoo. So yeah, this card will see play, I think, in some form or another. You're not going to always be able to use it on turn 2. In fact, you probably won't be able to use it on turn 2 most of the time. But getting 2 lackeys for just 2 mana is a good deal, even if you have to destroy something. The other play with this in the early game is with the egg. Try to coin out the egg on turn 1. Play this on turn 2. That's a good start. You get 5 attacking power on turn 2 and 2 lackeys in your hand. Eager Underling is the last Warlock card we're going to look at today. It is a 4-mana 2/2, so that's not good, but it has the death rattle. Give 2 random friendly minions +2/+2. That is a good ability. It's just how do you use this on turn 4? It's pretty tough. I think this is just worse than Defender of Argus, because on turn 4 it's smaller than Argus. It doesn't give the immediate buff. You also don't get taunt, which is very relevant, especially when you played a small 4-mana 2/2/2/3. So just worse than Defender of Argus. I think this does notably combo with Grim Rally on turn 5 to get a sort of a Fungalmancer in Standard. Fungalmancer is leaving in Standard. One of the best 5-drops in the game right now is gone. You could try to do that. You would buff your guys +3/+3, which would be good. You're using 2 cards in the process, but that is some tempo for sure. This guy doesn't win the battle against Defender of Argus, and that might mean it just doesn't see play. All right, only one warrior card to look at today. It's called Dimensional Ripper. It's a 10-mana spell. Summon 2 copies of a minion in your deck. Why not 3 copies, Blizzard? Mass Resurrection is 3. Why can't the warrior card be 3 too? Well, as someone who loves to make Grand Archivist decks, I will at least play this card. It's definitely worse in Standard now that we lose both Spiteful Summoner and Grand Archivist. That would have been sweet to see those together. So yeah, it's just a big and dumb. It's also unfortunate that Naga Sea Witch got nerfed in a way that, you can't use this in Wild with Naga Sea Witch anymore on turn 10. That would have been a pretty sweet play too. In Wild, this competes with Varian Wren, which it probably loses the battle to. They're both 10 mana. Varian Wren's already a 7/7, and then you get up to 3 things pulled immediately. And if you don't get them on the board, you get them in your hand. So Also kind of more value, like a four for one in some sense, but this is just a 2 for 1. You get copies. I'm not sure how much that matters. If you get copies, it could be better for cards like N'Zoth and Wild, but it's just so expensive. I will be playing this with Grand Archivist, no doubt. It's just unfortunate we can't really have fun with this in Standard. I don't see a world where you're playing Dr. Boom and all the mech stuff. You need this in any sense. I mean, what does help is if you're already Dr. Boom and you get 2 mechs, at least the mechs have rush, right? But like, it's just too random to see any play. Moving on to neutrals, we're going to start with some big splashy legendaries and possibly get the first WoW design rating here. Geppetto Joy Buzz definitely gets a WoW. It's an 8 mana 6/6 battlecry. Draw 2 minions from your deck, set their attack, health, and cost to 1. So anyone that's played the sort of miniatures brawl knows the power in this guy. And it's going to work with a lot of the same cards that were good in those brawls, whether it's Alexstrasza, whether it's Prophet Velen / Malagos, whether it's Auctioneer Antonidas. This card's really good when it works, and when it doesn't work, well, you're going to wish you had something else because you probably got 2 1-mana relevant cards. If you can definitely build your deck around this, have few minions, and kind of go off. It is expensive, but maybe that's fine. So definitely a busted card in the right situation, but I think it's a well-designed card overall. Archivist Elise is another 8-mana legend, this time a 7/7. Battlecry, discover 5 cards. That's a lot of work. And then you replace your deck with 2 copies of each. So you have to go through 5 discovers. So watch your rope there, and then you replace your whole deck. Now notice it says replace, right? It's not like you're getting extra cards. You replace your deck. So you probably got to save her until you have no deck left, which might be a thing if we are going into a very heavy control meta. The last man standing, the greediest deck wins, and this might just be a meta card because if it's a control meta, the person with this card is in a better spot than the person that doesn't have it. So interesting design here because it replaces your deck. If it just put 10 more cards in your deck, I think it's less interesting because you have to save it for the end, and then you have to think about your discover even harder, right? Like, wait a minute, if I only have spells, how do I win? So I'm going to need X and Y, right? So pretty cool card here. I like the design on this. Amarista Lynchin, 5 mana 4/5, a legendary battlecry. Add a copy of each other battlecry minions to your hand. So anything that has battlecry on the board, you get another copy in your hand. Wow, that's a powerful card, especially at neutral. I think the big winner here is any deck with Geppetto Joy Buzz, because these cards work very well together, whether you're copying another Joy Buzz to your hand, whether you're drawing a 1-mana Amarista with your Geppetto, or you're just using the cards that you want to play anyway together, right? Joy Buzz wants you to put big cards with splashy battle cries like Alexstrasza. You get one of those for 1 mana. It's pretty easy to copy it back in your hand with the Amarista. Also, the big winner here is Rogue in general because of cards like Spirit of the Shark, and well, they're relying on a lot of battlecry stuff already. So, what better than to put more of it back into your hand? Pogo Hopper as well. Seems like it's pretty good with the Barista, right? Archmage Vorgoth, 4 mana 2/6 legendary. At the end of your turn, cast a spell you've cast this turn. Targets are random. Wow, so pretty cool card here. There's 2 ways to do this, right? Like, to get the guaranteed value the turn you play it, and that probably is where it shines in Mage because they have a lot of 1 mana things to do, sort of cycle discover cards that can't go wrong. And then there's what you can do if this thing survives the turn, which is quite a lot, right? If this thing survives the turn, now we're getting into sort of double Mass Resurrection territory, double Kangor's Endless Armor territory, etc., etc. So this thing lives a turn, you can definitely go off with it. The fact that it's so big and it's kind of cheap at 4 mana, right? The stats are good. It's a 4 mana 2/6, so it's kind of has taunt in some sense at the very least. So your opponent's not going to want to let you do this. It should be interesting to see what people do to design their deck around this. To some extent, it is a one-of in a deck, so you can't completely build your deck around it, but you can definitely make some deck decisions because you're including this card. And I love cards that force you to play off the meta a little bit and have some fun. Big Bad Archmage is a 10 mana 6/6. At the end of your turn, summon a random 6-cost minion. Well, some of the 6-cost minions do have taunt. There's Sunwalker. A couple of the new taunts like Damage Stegodon would be really good to get with this to protect it for multiple turns. We are losing Jakari Enchanter, so that dream is gone in Standard. The way this shows up maybe because of evolving, whether it's new evolve cards Some of the old evolved cards are rotating out, but maybe we get this guy on the board by evolving things. Do you put this in your deck? Hard to say. I don't think so. It does synergize with the new Shaman card, the 5-drop that, you know, summons a random card from your, or turns into a card from your deck. So on turn 5, theoretically, you could have a 4/4 that every turn summons a random 6/6. That is a good deal on 5 mana. Batterhead, 8 mana, 3/12 with Rush. After this attacks and kills a minion, it may attack again. Wow, this card is really strong. It's trying to fill the hole that Primordial Drake has left on the format. It can't deal with taunts very well, right? If someone has a taunt, this thing runs into the taunt and then stops. You do have to kill a minion every time. Divine Shield also hurts this guy quite a bit. You have to figure out a way to get rid of Divine Shields before you sort of go off with this. There are going to be a lot of boards where this is just going to wipe them out, though. So I definitely think this is both a control card and might even just aggro card because it doesn't affect your board, and it just has a monster amount of stats, 3/12 or 8, and the fact that it keeps attacking makes it so that 3 attack is kind of all it needs in some situations. Unseen Saboteurs, 6 mana, 5/6 with a Battlecry. Your opponent casts a spell from their hand, targets chosen randomly. So seems like it's gonna not be good though. Like it might be good against exactly Paladin to try to get rid of their ice blocks or to try to break up some sort of Holy Wrath combo. It's like a good tech card in the same sense that Millhouse Mana Storm is a good 2-drop, right? Like things can go wrong very quickly with this if you play this and they cast a gallery for free. Yeah, so it's cool that we have access to this, but I don't think it's going to make many 30-card lists. Hench Clan Hag, 4 mana, 3/3 with Battlecry. Summon 2 1/1 amalgams with all minion times. Wow, so this is a very cool card. And the stats almost get there, very similar to the skeleton card from previous sets. The 2/4 summon 2 1/1s. The fact that you're getting, you know, beasts, pirates, etc. is a big deal, especially pirates, right? Because of the old ships cannon and wild, and even the new pirate synergies that Rogue have, whether it's the cannon barrage or the rush minion that would get quite big with just playing this. So definitely gonna see play, especially in wild, because it's pretty much a pirate card, and also in wild you can have some fun stuff with the Zubat / Menagerie Magician. So we'll definitely be trying some of that. Exotic Mount Sellers, 7 mana, 5/8. Whenever you cast a spell, summon a random 3-cost beast. Whoa, so we have pretty much a neutral Antonidas to some extent here. They're both 7 mana, they're both 5/8, and they both do something when you cast a spell. Instead of getting fireballs in your hand, you're getting beasts on the board, and that might be better in some situations. It's technically more tempo to some extent. The fireballs probably do a better job of closing out games against a larger variety of control decks that clear the board, but I can definitely see where this is better than Antonidas, and that is saying quite a bit for a neutral card. This card pretty much has to see play because it's so close to Antonidas at neutral. Anything that costs 0, we mentioned some of the rogue stuff. They already have backstab. They're getting the new backstab in Venthetta. A lot of things going on with this. Hunters are also having more reasons to play cheap cards like Arcane Shot, right? The new legendary wants them to take advantage of spell damage a little bit. So yeah, this might see play in a lot of different decks, guys. HECO Bot is a very important card to talk about here. It's a 4 mana, 3/8 mech with taunt and the Battlecry. Your opponent summons a minion from their deck. So it's another take on a Death Lord here, which is a very influential card when it was legal. Also a mech, which is very important. Turn 4 HECO Bot into turn 5 Dinomatic, helps deal with whatever came out. So it's an anti-combo card. It's a great card against aggro. It's a mech randomly for, you know, curving into Zeliax, right? This thing survives. It's probably one of the better Zeliax targets in the game for sure. This card is going to be everywhere. It is also a good resurrect target because it's a 3/8, and if you can resurrect this early on, that seems good. So cards like Kangor's Endless Army, which is still legal. Priests lose a lot of stuff, but they do still have mass resurrection, I guess. Yeah, so just going to be a card that you're going to see everywhere. Cards that deal with this are going to get better. Cards that maybe destroy mechs even are important enough to play. But we finally see the 5 mana, 3/3 destroy mech card because this card's going to be everywhere, right? Hench Clan Hogsteed. That's a mouthful. 2 mana, 2/1 beast with rush, and the Death Rattle summon a 1/1 Murloc. And look at that. Even the picture sort of explains what's going on. Cool take on a Beluga Warrior here. Can't go face. That is a big difference for sort of combo-y decks. But any deck that is worrying about beasts and or Murlocs would definitely look to play this. I know I will be playing this quite a bit with Beastmaster. That's for sure. So that concludes part 3 of my Rise of Shadows Hearthstone set review. I hope you guys will join me for parts 4 and 5 over the next couple days, because today, I believe, is the final live stream. If you're watching this on Wednesday, the final live stream is today, and we're going to get a card dump of the remaining cards in the set. So there's a lot to go over. As always, guys, please comment below if you guys agree or disagree with anything we talked about today, or if you found some sweet synergy that I didn't mention. Again, please comment below.